Imagine walking on a tightrope, like 100 feet in the air.
Oh, that sounds absolutely terrifying.
Right. Your heart is pounding, your palms are totally sweating, and every single step is just this panicked calculation about survival.
I'm getting stressed just thinking about it, to be honest.
Well, okay, but now imagine walking that exact same tightrope, except there's this massive unbreakable safety net just 2 feet below you.
Oh, okay. That changes things.
It totally does. Suddenly, the fear just vanishes. You know, you might even start looking around, enjoying the view, and actually having fun with the walk.
Because you know you're safe.
Exactly. And welcome to ESL listening practice. Today, we are skipping the long introductions and jumping straight into the psychological reality of the happiest people on Earth.
Yeah, we're looking at the World Happiness Report. It's an annual study that measures exactly what it sounds like.
Right. And every single year, a very specific group of nations just totally dominates the top of that list.
That's exactly right. According to the data, the countries consistently at the very top include Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and the Netherlands.
It's always those same ones.
Always. Now, our goal today is twofold. First, we're going to figure out their secret. Like, what are they actually doing to achieve this?
And second, because you are tuning into ESL listening practice, we are going to help you, the listener, master some intermediate B2 level English vocabulary along the way.
Exactly. We'll just explore these words naturally as we talk, so you can start using them confidently in your own conversations.
Okay, let's unpack this right away. Because when I think of a tropical paradise where everyone is smiling, I picture sunny beaches, warm ocean water.
Sure, most people do.
But the countries you just named, like Finland, Iceland, Sweden, they are northern nations. I mean, many of them are incredibly cold and dark for huge parts of the year.
Very dark, yeah.
So I have to ask, are these citizens just genetically lucky, or have these countries actually engineered a system for human happiness that the rest of the world can just, copy?
It's a fantastic question. And the answer really lies in the system they've built. But to really understand how the system works, we can't start by looking at what these people do for fun.
Wait, really? We aren't looking at their hobbies?
Nope. Or how many parties they go to. We actually have to start by looking at what happens when things go completely wrong in their lives.
Wow. Okay, that feels entirely backwards. If we want to study happiness, why are we looking at what happens when things go wrong?
Because the foundation of true, lasting happiness isn't just about experiencing joy. It's really about the complete removal of existential dread.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the reports highlight two fundamental reasons for these high scores, and those are strong social support and a high quality of life.
So what does that actually look like for a normal person?
Well, in these top-ranking countries, citizens feel an overwhelming sense of support from their society. If a person loses their job, or gets sick, or faces some sort of crisis, they know they can rely on their government and their community.
Let's pause right there, because rely on is a perfect phrase for us to highlight for our B2 learners.
It's a great one, yeah.
When you say they rely on the government, you're not just saying they ask for help.
Exactly. To rely on someone or something means you trust them completely to provide support when you need it. You depend on it.
Like trusting a chair to hold you up.
That's a perfect example. It's the difference between hoping a chair will hold your weight and confidently sitting down because you rely on that chair to support you.
Right.
In these nations, citizens don't just hope the government will assist them. They rely on those public systems as a guaranteed fact of life.
And what exactly are they relying on those systems for? I mean, the reading materials mention that people in these countries do not have to constantly worry about their basic needs.
Yes, and basic needs is our next essential vocabulary phrase for you guys listening.
So how do we define basic needs?
When we talk about basic needs, we're talking about the absolute minimum requirements for human survival and dignity. So, food, clean water, shelter, safety.
And I assume things like doctors and schools, right?
Yeah. In modern societies, it definitely includes things like healthcare and education.
So, connecting this back to the tightrope analogy we started with, if you don't have your basic needs met, your brain is essentially trapped in survival mode.
You're walking the tightrope without a net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't appreciate a beautiful sunset or enjoy a hobby if you are terrified about, how you're going to pay for your child's medicine next week.
That is the exact mechanism at play here. When a society guarantees that your basic needs will be met, meaning you won't go hungry, you won't be left on the street.
And you won't go bankrupt just from visiting a doctor.
Right. It completely changes the chemistry of your daily life.
Yeah.
You aren't operating in a state of constant low-level panic. That safety net removes the biological stress of survival.
That makes total sense. But let me push back a little here.
Sure, go for it.
A safety net is a great concept, but it only works if you actually trust the people holding the net.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you think the net is broken, or that someone is going to steal it the second you fall, you're still going to be terrified on that tightrope.
You have just hit on the most critical secondary factor in the data. Providing social services isn't enough on its own. The citizens actually have to believe the system is fair.
Right.
And that brings us to our next major factors, which are low corruption and high trust in government.
Okay, let's make sure our listeners fully grasp the word corruption. It's a noun we hear a lot on the news, but how are we defining it here for a B2 level?
Good call. Corruption refers to dishonest or illegal behavior by people who hold positions of power.
Like politicians.
Yeah, exactly. It's when a politician uses public tax money to enrich their friends, or when a police officer expects a secret cash payment to ignore a traffic ticket.
So it's basically when the rules don't apply equally to everyone.
Exactly. It's essentially cheating the system. And the reports show that in places like Denmark and the Netherlands, corruption is incredibly low.
Yeah. But I want to understand how they actually do this. Is it just that people in those countries are like magically more honest than everyone else?
Not magically, no. It's mechanical. Many of these societies have built structures of radical transparency.
Transparency meaning you can see everything.
Yes. In some Nordic countries, for example, tax records are entirely public. You can look up exactly how much your neighbor, your boss, or your mayor earns.
Oh, wow. That sounds kind of crazy.
It is a big cultural difference. But when the system is that transparent, corruption becomes practically impossible to hide.
That makes sense.
And when corruption is low, it breeds our next vocabulary word, which is stability.
Ah, stability.
Yeah.
A fantastic noun. If a society has stability, it means things are firm, secure, and predictable.
Exactly.
They aren't going to suddenly collapse or change in chaotic ways.
Precisely. Because if an economy lacks stability, a loaf of bread might cost $2 today and $20 tomorrow.
Right, which is terrifying.
Or if a political system lacks stability, the laws might change overnight, depending on who paid the right bribe. But in a high-trust society, you have immense stability.
You know exactly what the rules are.
We do. And you know the rules apply to the billionaire just as much as they apply to the bus driver.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the concept of happiness? Because when I look at everything we've just discussed, having basic needs met, relying on a fair system, experiencing low corruption, having stability.
Yeah.
None of that actually sounds like jumping up and down with joy. It sounds a lot more like the absence of worry. Is that the secret? Just knowing the rules aren't going to change unfairly tomorrow.
That is a brilliant insight. Yes. In English, the absence of something means it simply isn't there. We often confuse happiness with euphoria or, like, intense excitement.
Right, like winning the lottery or something.
Exactly. But mathematically, on a societal level, happiness is largely driven by the absence of chronic stress.
So just not being stressed out all the time.
Yeah. When your brain isn't burning energy trying to calculate survival risks, it frees up incredible amounts of mental bandwidth. And that freedom is what allows true contentment to flourish.
Okay, so we've established the foundation. The net is strong, it's transparent, nobody is stealing it, and everyone trusts it. But a safety net just keeps you from hitting the ground. It doesn't tell me what these people are actually doing on a random Tuesday afternoon that makes their lives so fulfilling.
That's very true.
Let's talk about their daily reality.
Okay, well, that shifts our focus entirely.
Yeah.
Once the government has secured the foundation, how do the citizens spend their time? And the data points heavily toward two things:
Which are?
a healthy work-life balance and a deep connection with nature.
Oh, work-life balance is a massive buzzword right now, especially in corporate culture.
It really is everywhere.
For our learners, this phrase describes the healthy division of your time and energy between your professional job and your personal life.
Correct. So if you're working 12-hour days, answering emails from your boss during family dinner, and skipping your weekends to finish projects.
Your work-life balance is severely broken.
Exactly. Your job is consuming your life.
You know, I used to think about this using the classic phone battery analogy. Like, you work until your battery is at 1% and then you just crash.
Right.
But honestly, that's not quite right, because a phone can just be plugged into a wall and ignored. Human energy is more like a muscle, isn't it?
That is a much better way to think about it. If you go to the gym and lift heavy weights for hours, your muscles build up lactic acid. They become stiff, sore, and fatigued.
Yeah, they hurt.
And if you just go sit still on the couch afterward, you'll actually stiffen up even more. What fitness experts recommend is active recovery.
Active recovery.
Yeah, doing something entirely different like a gentle walk or stretching to flush that tension out of your system.
And that's exactly what these top-ranked countries seem to do with their free time. They don't just leave work at 4 p.m. and go stare at a wall.
No, they don't.
The reports emphasize that nature plays a massive role in their daily routine.
It does. Even when the weather is brutally cold, people in Finland and Sweden are outside. They are hiking, cycling, or just walking through the woods.
Just getting outside.
Yeah, and this isn't just a cultural quirk. It's a profound mechanism for improving mental health.
Mental health. That's our next phrase. We all understand physical health, right? The state of our heart, our lungs, our bones.
Sure.
Mental health is the condition of our psychological and emotional well-being. It's how we process stress, handle emotions, and interact with the world.
Exactly. And returning to your muscle analogy, focused work like staring at a computer, solving complex problems, dealing with difficult clients, that builds up cognitive fatigue.
It's like mental lactic acid.
That's brilliant. Yes, mental lactic acid. Studies show that spending time in natural environments actually lowers cortisol levels in the brain.
And cortisol is the primary stress hormone, right?
Exactly. So being among trees or looking at a body of water, it acts as active recovery for the brain. It physically flushes out the stress.
I even read that in some of these northern countries, parents will bundle their babies up in thick blankets and let them take their afternoon naps outside in their strollers.
Yes.
Even in freezing temperatures. I mean, the culture is so fundamentally tied to fresh air and the outdoors. They truly prioritize that active recovery.
They do, and they have strong boundaries. When work is over, it is truly over. The society respects that personal time is meant for family, community, and nature, which directly sustains their mental health.
All right, I love the sound of this. Strong support, trust, clear boundaries, and walks in the woods.
Sounds pretty ideal.
It does, but I have to play devil's advocate here. I refuse to believe this is a magical one-size-fits-all formula.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Like, what if these rules don't automatically work for every single human being on Earth?
And they don't. That raises a vital point, and it introduces one of the most important vocabulary words for our B2 learners today, which is subjective.
Subjective. Okay, so when something is subjective, it means it is based entirely on personal feelings, individual tastes, or opinions.
Right. It changes depending on who is experiencing it.
The best way to grasp subjective is to contrast it directly with its opposite, which is objective.
Objective.
Yeah, something objective is a measurable fact. It is true regardless of how you feel about it. For example, water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius.
That is an objective fact. You cannot argue with it.
But if I say winter is the most beautiful and exciting season of the year, that is a subjective statement.
Definitely.
I might love winter because I'm an avid skier. You might absolutely hate winter because you despise the cold and prefer the beach. There is no right or wrong answer there.
It depends entirely on our personal preferences.
Exactly. So bringing this back to our topic, happiness is ultimately subjective. What makes one specific individual feel joyful and fulfilled might make another person feel bored or totally trapped.
Right, so let's imagine someone who naturally has insanely high energy. They love the chaos of a massive, loud city.
Okay, I know the type. And they actually want to work 80 hours a week because they're fiercely competitive, they're building a tech startup, and their personal dream is to become a billionaire.
Right.
For that specific person, moving to a quiet village in Iceland with a strict 30-hour work week and daily walks in the freezing woods, that might actually make them miserable.
Completely miserable.
Because their definition of happiness is subjective.
That is an entirely realistic scenario. For the hyper-competitive entrepreneur you just described, the Nordic model might feel deeply frustrating.
Right.
But here is the critical distinction we have to make. The World Happiness Report is not trying to design a custom lifestyle for every unique personality type. It is measuring macro-level societal health. It's looking at the averages.
Well, it's about what creates the best baseline for the vast majority of human beings.
Yes. While your specific career goals or your hobbies are subjective, human biology is largely objective.
Ah,
As a species, we universally suffer when we are starving, when we are terrified of disease, or when we are betrayed by corrupt leaders.
That's just biology.
Exactly. What these countries have proven is that when you engineer a society that objectively removes those baseline terrors, when you guarantee the basic needs, build trust, and enforce a work-life balance, the average level of human flourishing skyrockets.
What is a phenomenal way to frame it? The safety net doesn't force you to be happy in one specific way. It just gives you the secure foundation to go out and safely pursue whatever your subjective version of happiness is.
Precisely. And that leads to one of the biggest misunderstandings people have when they first read these reports. People naturally assume that the happiest countries must simply be the richest countries in the world.
But they aren't.
No, they're not.
If wealth alone equaled happiness, we'd see entirely different nations at the top of the list. The reality we're seeing in the data is that the happiest countries aren't necessarily the richest. They are the most balanced.
They've recognized that past a certain point, extra money does not buy extra peace of mind. True national well-being comes from investing in strong community infrastructure, maintaining clean, transparent public systems, and fostering a culture that treats rest and nature as essential, not just as luxuries.
Trust really is the invisible glue that makes the whole machine run smoothly.
It absolutely is.
So what does this mean for you, the listener? Today's mission wasn't just to practice intermediate English, although you've tackled some great concepts today.
You definitely have.
It's also about taking these insights into your own reality. Even if your country isn't ranked in the top 5, and even if you can't personally rewrite your government's tax laws,
Which most of us can't.
how can you apply these mechanics to your life?
Well, you can start building your own localized safety nets.
Yes. You can focus on the micro level. Can you build trust within your immediate neighborhood so that you and your neighbors can rely on each other during a crisis?
That's a great place to start.
Or can you take a hard look at your own work-life balance? Maybe you don't live by a massive Swedish forest, but can you actively decide to turn your phone off for 1 hour tonight?
Just to flesh out that cognitive lactic acid.
Exactly. And just be present with your family.
We can all take steps to improve our subjective happiness by adopting the principles of active recovery and community trust, regardless of where we live.
I love that practical takeaway. But before we wrap up today's conversation, I always like to leave our listeners with something a bit more challenging to mull over.
I actually have a very provocative thought regarding the data we've covered today. It builds on everything we've analyzed, but introduces a major structural complication.
Oh, bring it on. What's the complication?
Well, the reports frequently suggest that other nations should learn from this Nordic model to improve their own citizens' well-being.
Sure.
But if you look closely at the countries dominating the top of the list, like Iceland, Finland, Denmark, they share another distinct characteristic.
Which is?
They have relatively small, highly homogeneous populations. Iceland has fewer than 500,000 people. Finland has around 5.5 million.
Wow. When you compare that to a massive global superpower, that is tiny. We're talking about a fraction of the population of a single major city in India, China, or the United States.
Exactly. So the question I want you to think about after the audio stops today is this. Is the size of the population the secret limiting variable?
Oh, wow.
Is it simply much easier to create a perfect balance of deep trust, low corruption, and social support when a country only has a few million people?
That completely changes the tightrope analogy. If there are only 1,000 people walking the tightrope, building a net is a totally manageable community project.
Right.
But if there are 300 million people on the tightrope across a massive geographical continent, how strong does the net need to be? Does the sheer weight of that many people just break the system?
Can a giant nation of hundreds of millions ever truly weave a safety net that catches everyone? Or is this specific, high-trust, low-corruption happiness only mathematically possible when the population is small enough to essentially function like one big extended neighborhood?
That is a staggering question, and honestly, a massive engineering problem for modern society. Can you scale trust? I'm going to be turning that over my head all day.
It's definitely something to think of.
Well, we want to enthusiastically thank you for joining this session of ESL listening practice. We hope you enjoyed dissecting the mechanics of the happiest nations on Earth.
We really do.
And more importantly, we hope you feel incredibly confident using your new B2 vocabulary words in context. Words like rely on, basic needs, corruption, stability, and understanding the difference between subjective and objective.
Keep practicing those concepts. Keep looking for ways to flesh out that mental stress with some active recovery, and keep analyzing the systems around you.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.